Now, I tell you all of this because it is said that he received a vision from his mentor, Mr. Lucifer, I guess, on August 15th, 1871. And William Guy Carr, former intelligence officer in the Royal Canadian Navy, wrote a book called Satan, Prince of this World, in which he gives this information. He said that he received this information from a book written by Cardinal Caro Rodriguez in Santiago, Chile, who wrote in 1925 a book called The Mystery of Freemasonry Unveiled. And in this book, in 1925, it is said that he wrote a letter to a man named Mazzini, in which he described this dream. And in the dream, he predicted 3 world wars. The First World War, he said, must be brought about, and I'm quoting from Albert Pike. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Now, students of history will know that Otto von Bismarck forged certain alliances between 1871 and 1898, which brought about this war, this World War I. And Otto von Bismarck here says that he was a co-conspirator with Albert Pike, and he was the one instrumental in bringing about the First World War. Well, that's the First World War. Then he dreams that there must be, he is given in this visionary dream, a Second World War. Now remember, this was in 1925 that it became public in this book written by a cardinal from Santiago, Chile, Rodriguez. He says, quote, "The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism will be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm." Well, there are some who may argue that the terms Nazism and Zionism were not known in 1871. You should remember, however, that the Illuminati invented both of these movements. In addition, communism as an ideology and as a coined phrase originates in France during the Revolution. In 1785, Restif coined the phrase 4 years before the Revolution broke out. Restif and Babeuf, in turn, were influenced by Rosé, as was the most famous conspirator of them all, Adam Weishaupt. Then he has this vision, in this vision, not only 1 world war and 2 world wars, but here comes the 3rd World War. He's now thinking about this 3rd World War, and it says that it will be caused by the differences between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin and savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So he's against Christianity and he's against atheism. They're supposed to fight each other to the death, you see. Then, he says, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will, from that moment, be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's what he says. Brought finally out in the public view. So he's saying that Lucifer will finally make himself, the good guy. He's going to save the world from these atheists who don't believe in deity and from these Christians who believe in the good God. Well, so it says, this manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Well, I don't know if it's true, but I can tell you that it sure has played into what is being carried on in the Middle East today. And it looks like everything from World War I and World War II, with the development of the State of Israel, and with the Zionist movement and the communist movement and the atheist movement and the peppering down of persecution on the Christians of this world, it looks like that may be Lucifer's attempt at annihilation of us all, so that Lucifer will appear in the form, of course, of what the Bible calls the Antichrist, and establish peace on earth for mankind. I got news for all those Illuminatists. I can tell you this, they're all going to be thrown into the lake of fire. So says the Word of God, and I believe it from cover to cover.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Friday, November 18th, 2011. I'm Darko. This is my website, ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. Also, DDarko2012 is my YouTube channel. All the links for the articles that I cover will be in YouTube's video description, along with the Global Government News group on Facebook and then the Twitter account for GGN. So go in there and check those out. I have a poll up here, and so far there are 9 days left. We have the next CEO for the corporation known as the United States of America will be what? The first gay, Caucasian, Hispanic, Asian man. So far we have 3% voting for that. The first gay, Caucasian, Hispanic, Asian woman, 5 voters, 16% saying that. That's the third most, followed by the first transsexual hermaphrodite at 6%, and then the first cyborg, 6%. Then we have the first alien from off planet, 12 voters, the majority 38% saying that. I put in first because there's some people that think that we've already had an alien as a president, and someone actually went in there and made that comment. So it says here the last one is none of these, and that's actually the second most, 29%, 9 voters saying none of these. So we may just get a washed up old white man or something again. Okay, so we have down here, you can follow me on email and news archive here. You can donate on ggnonline.com or in YouTube's video description with everything else. Okay, I went through all of that. That's for new listeners. Okay, so you saw the Albert Pike video. Listener or viewer basically, showed me that video, sent me the link, and it's kind of like the United States being like a subsidiary, basically a corporation and a subsidiary of Britain and the Queen, and then of course the Pope. So I kind of already knew that, but it was nice to kind of refresh it. You know what I mean? And then it was kind of nice to have the to refresh what I kind of already knew, which is about Albert Pike and that, and the 3 world wars being predicted and how we're living through that, which is true because we are basically in World War III. I've heard other people use or say that before. We're already in World War III, and it is what's going on right now, which is the pinning of the Zionists, basically Israel against the Muslims in the Middle East, and we're the other countries. We're kind of the ones that are going through the political strife, the economic strife. These quote, the first world nations, England and the United States and Canada and all that. And the funny thing is what? Is that you do find that a lot of people now aren't even sure what they are. They would be considered nihilists. They don't really believe in, it's not that they don't not believe in government, they don't believe in government, they don't really, they're not really into religion, so they're not really into spirituality. They're just lost. They're already lost. So they're already waiting for this new world religion to come about. And that's what actually the Occupy Wall Street's all about. We already saw that video in the last video on Wednesday, right? Where, Lucifer's Trust, UN building and that is basically the ones that are backing it. And they go in there and it talks about the New World Religion. So Zion is pushing, and those are the revolutionary minorities of revolutionaries. Zion is pushing U.S. to attack Iran. So here we go. U.S. pushed the Zionist apparatus is seeking to use Saudi envoy assassination accusations against Tehran as a pretext to launch an attack on Iran. Political analysis tells Press TV. IAEA passes ineffective Iran resolution. The Board of Governors for the IAEA has passed its new resolution on Iran's nuclear activities, saying a total of 32 countries voted in favor of the motion, while Indonesia abstained and from vote, and Cuba and Ecuador voted against. Said the resolution voices deep and increasing concern over Tehran's nuclear program, also calls for the Iran and the IAEA to intensify dialogue to resolve the dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Next up, top senator unveils a legislation to impose sanctions on Iran central bank. Next up, we have Syria's Muslim Brotherhood open to Turkish role. So this is interesting, right? Because they took, right now in Egypt, they had that regime change. Who basically Mubarak was kind of like still dealing with Israel, is cozy with Israel. I'm not like bashing that. I'm just saying that in doing that and fomenting these revolutions, they were all uprisings by basically carried out and fueled by intelligence agencies, right? And so what do you have? You have the Muslim Brotherhood over there in Egypt, and you have Al-Qaeda and Sharia law in Libya now. You see, this is all being done by, like what he said, Illuminati agents. And now you have the leader of Syria's exiled Muslim Brotherhood said Thursday his compatriots would accept Turkish intervention in the country to resolve months of bloody unrest. Very interesting. Turkey's always in the news now. And look at these. Turkey, 8 Iranians wounded in bus attack. I don't have time to watch this video or to show it, so go in there and check that out. But yeah, it says a car tried to stop that bus, but the driver did not stop, and they opened fire. 8 passengers were wounded. So there was basically a targeted attack on those Iranians. Report Russia warships to enter Syria waters in bid to stem foreign intervention. That's right. That's pretty crazy, man. It says here, Syrian officials say Damascus agrees in principle to allow entrance of Arab League observer mission. 22-member body proposed sending hundreds of observers to the help and the bloodshed. 3 Syrian troops killed in Hama blasts. More outside, as they say, interference or provocateuring going on in Syria to get a regime change there. U.S. pullout gives al-Qaeda space in north and west of Iraq. So look at that. Al-Qaeda has been given an opening to revive operations. That's right, just like Libya, right? It says here, standoff at U.S. Airbase in Iraq, and that's a tense standoff between the local police and Iraqi army, and this is all over oil. So, yep. It says here, Egypt to resume IMF loan talks. So after that, now they have to start talking about receiving loans, right? Going to into receivership, IMF receivership. It says here, East Africa, record number of arrivals from Horn of Africa to Yemen because of Somalia. That's right. U.S. terror drone kills 13 and 40 more in Somalia, all civilians. Concern in Kenya over cost of Somalia operation. So like I said before, they're starving in Kenya, getting poisoned food aid for their children, yet they're going and bombing and killing Somalis. And it says here, university students are growing angry that their government can't afford military operations, but not raises enough for thousands of university lecturers. Fake terror plots, paid informants, tactics of FBI entrapment. Question. Critics say the Bureau is running a sting operation across America targeting vulnerable people by luring them into fake plots. That's right. Remember I covered this on Wednesday. Then we have another mind-controlled patsy, just like what the Pentagon shooter drove all the way across the country, and he talked about RFID chips and the children and stuff like that. So, and you know, if you're going to do it, I guess you could say, at least make sure that the person's going to be there. I'm not condoning it or anything, but come on. Texas man convicted of attempting to aid Al-Qaeda. 2 British terrorism suspects killed in CIA drone attack. Now, did he actually do anything? Any tangible evidence that he did something? No, he was plotting. That's what it was. MI6 spies died in battle against Al-Qaeda, William Hague to say. So MI6 agents have died in the fight against, government-led terrorist groups over the past decade to protect Britain from terrorist attacks, basically from its own government. This is GGN. Thank you.